to me, that's the way the rap is. Like, we're always going to have a chip on our shoulder because the people that make hip hop are more likely the disadvantaged ones, the ones who are already not going to be accepted. You know, so.
What up, people? It's your favorite podcast man back again with another one. My name is Michael Shanario.
And I'm Muro Koya.
And this is Menisms, ladies and gentlemen. We got a special episode because we have an OG in the building.
Real OG.
If you are Nigerian, if you are African even, you will know this man because he's a pioneer of not just the music industry, but hip-hop and rap, to be specific. So we're going to let him introduce himself so you know who we have in the building.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. First of all, shout out to y'all, man. This podcast is like doing such amazing things.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here. And my name is M.I. Well, my name is Jude Abaga, but everyone knows me as M.I. I'm a musician, and I work in the music industry in Nigeria, in the entertainment industry.
I love that.
To put yourself in.
Yeah.
I love that. So again, make sure you subscribe to all our audio channels, our platforms. And again, our rule is, even though you be OG, you have to be yourself here.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did for you.
As honest.
And let me just add as well. I want to add a little bit of extra. Guys, just subscribe now. Just click the button right now. Don't, like, I know you're thinking about it.
Clip
I know
it,
you
clip
heard
it.
us say it, but just click. And then now you see, now it's done.
He said it. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, before we start off camera, people were saying, like, their first interactions with you and all. My first interaction with you is a bit different. It wasn't when we met, actually. It was before we met.
Really?
So, I moved back to Nigeria 2008. Obviously from Atlanta. So it was funny how when I came to Nigeria, I was in secondary school. People obviously, as a Yankee boy, were putting me on to Nigerian music. So I remember now everybody kept talking about, yo, we got rappers in Nice. There's this guy named M.I. I'm like, guys don't have rappers and all that. Then I listened to your album the first time. Some things I didn't understand, like context-wise, because I wasn't in Nigeria. But there was one song that hooked me, which was Anoti. I don't know what it is about that song.
What do you mean you don't know? There's
no,
honey,
ginger,
sugar.
I know what the ginger is, but it's like, obviously then, like, again, I'm coming as a Yankee guy that your definition of rap is down south rap, up north rap for people in New York and all that, people in Texas, and obviously the California rap. So in my head, I didn't know Nigerians had rappers. I knew we had artists, but not rappers. But I heard your album, then I heard the lyrics, and I was like, oh, this guy's lyrical, but I didn't understand the context. But it was Anoti that made me say, like, yo, okay. And then funny enough, the year after, I don't know if you remember, remember those Olik concerts that Olamide used to have. So my uncle used to be like part of the people that sponsor it. So we're always there. So that's when I saw you for the first time on stage, because I kept hearing about this my guy. Then you were the last person, because I remember they tricked us. They said, oh, there's a special guest coming from America and all that. So you know those concerts, they'll make you stay till like 2 in the morning. So it's like once it's 2, 3, they said, don't worry, the special guest is coming. So me, I'm thinking it's an American artist, so I'm hyped. They said, M.I. I said, what the fuck? Like, so I didn't know it, but it's when I saw the crowd's reaction, and they sang every single lyric. I said, no, I have to go and do my research. And then obviously look at now that I met you personally. It's just funny how time works. But
And this is also crazy because I also have my own story with
Tell
him.
me,
And
I want to hear it.
Off camera, I was just telling him that randomly he didn't remember, but we have a picture together from 2009. Westfield, London. I was just on my own random shopping summertime doing thing, and this was 1 year after Anoti had also dropped the album Talk About It had just released, and so I'm here like wait. I see across the aisle. I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna take a picture. I was fanboying so bad. Fast forward 16 years later.
16 years. That's crazy.
Obviously, we have questions we're gonna ask you about different topics based off Menisms and all. But I have one question I've been wanting to ask. What influenced you to start rapping in Nigeria? Because again, I'm looking at it from the outside where there were Nigerian rappers, I'm sure, but obviously from the outside, we wouldn't classify them as rappers. You and the people you started with, you guys were like the first ones. So what inspired you to actually rap in Nigeria, where at first it's probably going to be looked down upon? Even up to now, sometimes they still look at rappers as funny until you blow.
I was going to just add that it's not even that there were no rappers. Rap was seen as a weird genre in Nigeria. Yeah. And I say weird, not that it didn't sound nice, but it sounded like, why are you being American? And it was always brushed off.
Everybody always associated to be American, where every contract. So what inspired you to start, and like, how was that when you started?
Wow. Well, I thank you guys for my head was just swelling here. I appreciate the light you guys cast on me. I think now in my answer, my job is to cast the light on others too as well. So this is the reason why I personally I don't like it when people say no one paved the way for them. Because for me, what I understand is that what inspired me to rap was the fact that, first of all, I listened to rap and I loved rap. I was creative. But most people have that story when they're young. There's something they love. But just imagine like being like an animator. Like when I was young, I used to do cartoons and stuff.
Okay.
But there was no animation studios in Nigeria.
Right.
So by
no
myself,
platform
I
to
gave
even-
up the dream.
you
know? But it's a different thing when you're like a young rapper, you're dropping bars, and then all of a sudden you look up and you see LD the Don and the Tribemen.
So
Tribesmen.
first of all, let's
You know
see.
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
shout out to LD. Hopefully, at some point,
OG.
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
can catch him on this,
He's in Atlanta.
He lives in
I know.
Atlanta,
He's
yeah.
one of the few people that.
And he's a
talk
great
about
guest
that
because
visa.
he's now like a
A
multi-millionaire
whole-
in
so-
real estate.
Mad.
Yeah,
Mad.
and he left here, went into tech, built something, sold it,
yeah.
started real estate, boom. He's like, like LD's up.
So LD,
People
if
need
you're
to know
watching
LD
this,
is
we
up,
need you at some point.
No,
At some
I know
point, we're gonna
OG
get you on
personally,
it.
so I just like to say, I beg you, that favor I've been asking for, please.
So then there's Rugged Man who comes into the industry and he's like, everything you guys are hearing is whack. Let me show you how it's done. Then there's this guy called Idris Abdul Karim, who
Yeah,
was
I've
just
done him.
like, he was like Rema Electric. Like when you see Rema now, that was the energy that
yeah.
Idris had back then. Burner, Rema has it, but I would say, actually, now that I think about it, Idris was most like Burner.
I see that.
Interesting.
I do
And
see
he was
that,
like
actually.
Burner and VDM. Like he would just say the thing and just put it out there and everybody would be singing it. He sang this song called Mr. Lecturer that just like,
Of course,
and
they
then
had different parts.
track after track after track. And then so here I have this gift and the world is being built in front of me. And that gives you permission because when other people have done it and you can see they're successful, that is where the inspiration comes from. So I came and joined like a great legacy for Nigerian hip hop. This thing you were saying about how like people always look at rap down. What I tell people is like, it's like being the stepchild in a family, right? Where to them they're already like, but you're not fully blood. Do you know what I'm saying? There's nothing you can do. Right. Right now, the biggest artist in Nigeria is Odumodu Black. I'm not talking about it speculatively. Odumodu was saying so earlier this year. He was like, look at the numbers. I have been the biggest. Whether it's Files, whether it's MI, hip hop always has the same narrative. We're the stepchild. You know what I mean? Okay, that's fine. We're still going to serve. We're still going to be a great family member. We're still going to do what we do, And I also think that hip hop comes, like real pure hip hop comes from people who have been stepchilded in life in various contexts. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, I get what
you're
you mean.
not,
I do see that.
you know what I mean? It comes
You're out
from
of your
that
comfort.
perspective. Exactly. So to me, it's like, sometimes the way the thing is the way the thing is. So like to me that's the way the rap is. Like we're always gonna have a chip on our shoulder because the people that make hip hop are more likely the disadvantaged ones, the ones who are already not going to be accepted. So even when they're successful, that part doesn't go away. That lack of full acceptance. We're not pop. We're not for the general public. We're for people that are dealing with pain, people that want to take on the world. We're for the warriors. We're for the we're for the victims, we're for that. And that's okay. I'm very happy with us being in that place and doing our thing there.
I like that answer.
It's a very interesting angle that you've gone into now. And I say this because my own question to you was going to be, so now we're in 2025, right? And you've come this long way in your career, be it music, be it the music industry in other aspects. If you could circle back to 2005, 6, when you were still like, strategizing, ready to plotting to just come into the into the industry heavy on, would you say you would do it the exact same way? What are the things you think you're like, yeah, I would have done this up until this point and then maybe do something else at this point? Just a little bit of what that journey was like as you've had it and what it should have been like now that you're in 2025 and reflecting on that.
That's a good question. It's a very good question. I feel like I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like I'm going to give one of those answers. People are going to be like, oh, am I? Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's your answer. It's
yeah. But so there are some things that would change, but they are not like I would change the outcome. But that's very important in my answer because, for instance, let me give an example. Like, I was part of Chalk Boys, and I feel Chalk Boys ended prematurely.
Okay.
You know, so like we could have gone on a 4 or 5 album tier. You know, we could have gone toured around the world. So I would change that. It's just that changing that, like,
Would also change the timeline in the other parts of the story.
and where would you start from? Like, where was the moment where it didn't, you know what I mean? Like, when you go back, it's like the butterfly effect. Where did this thing start? So to me, I sort of look at the world now as I'm in my 40s, and I say this like, especially when I'm talking to like younger bros, people I talk to, I'm like, look, your job is just to keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. Because even when you try to be right, at the very least, 50% of all you do will be wrong. But that's just what it means to be a human being. Do you know what I mean? Now, how to become a good human being is to be able to look back and be like, oh, this is what I've learned. It's when you stop that. So there are 2 ways to stop it. Number one way to stop is to be like, I don't want to be wrong, so I'm not going to try. That's the first way. The second way is like, I tried and now everybody's laughing at me and I feel stupid. I'm not going to try again, you know? So at points in my career, like I'll use an example. Like 10 years, 5 years ago, people used to be very critical of me from Jos, you know? The artists there, they were very critical. Like, Emma, you've not done enough, blah, blah, blah. And I used to be like, that's so unfair. And then one day I was like, no, actually, if they expect me to do more, let me try to understand what they want me to do. And let me start working on that, you know, because I felt aligned with it. So now the fact that they were critiquing me, is it a good thing? Or should I change that? Like, even though I didn't enjoy it at the time, but it inspired me to go do something else, you know? So it's very weird. Like, I don't think that that's the way to live life, to be like, okay, what am I? Like, you're going to live, you're going to have some things, you do them, and then you're going to have an output. And you need to be humble enough to be like, okay, what did I get wrong? What did I get right? And then do it again until, you know, you have carved yourself into a shape where life becomes a skill, you know?
I feel like for your generation, though, like you said, you guys, obviously every generation sets a standard, or so should I say.
Precedent.
Yeah, because for your generation, I feel like it was a lot harder for you guys, and that's why you guys sort of had more impact. So what I mean is, like, this day and age now, when he was asking what would you do differently, there are so many artists around the world, especially with social media. You guys didn't really have social media, so if you blew then. Like, I even tell people, it's because of you I knew of Jos.
Wow.
Like, I don't know about you.
He's right. That's facts. Jos was just on the map, but now it was that
but
place.
the stories of like, oh, this is Jos, this is this.
Yeah.
So I guess my other question to you now is, like, when the success really started now, did you know how to navigate it, or was it something like you were just following the motions with it?
Yeah, in fact, I think in my first iteration of like what I would call like success, which had to do with, like, let me say, increasing revenue. So like you enter a phase in your life where every month you're making more than you made last month, you know?
Okay.
And then increasing fame. Because success is subjective, right? What does success mean? But let's say I had those two things, which I think most men want. You want to come to a point where money is going and my legacy is spreading, you know, my name is spreading. And I think I went past where I thought. Coming from Jos, based on looking at the industry, I was like, now here we go reach. Now here be the final, this is the 100-meter mark and we're running 100 meters. When I got 100 meters, I realized that actually you keep going and you've gapped everybody. You're going 200 meters. This is a 200-meter race. Okay. I kept going. And, you know, to be honest, there was a point in my career where I had to ask myself, like, okay, Jude, what else is there for you to do? Which is why it ties back to the question. Like, I reached a point where I was, you know, like I had gotten to the top of rap, you know. I was at the bottom before. So now I'm at the top, not just in the country, on the continent. And that's the end. There's no, like, there's no American rap at the time. Like, there's no access to us at the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what else? And I think people that are really intentional fans of mine, they would even be able to hear that point in my music, you know. Yeah, and then now what always happens is that the world will just come and grow over what you've done. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, can I do something more? And that's what I asked myself. What else do I have to do next? What do I have to do next? And as soon as it was clear to me, I was like, let's get to work.
This actually unfolds a new question for me, and in this answer you've given now, it just struck me that in all of this process of reaching the top, getting to the apex of what you assumed was the apex of your career, did you at any point, or even maybe at the apex, feel that your success became some sort of driver for imposter syndrome?
I didn't even see. That was a cliffhanger question. You were just driving us like this. Lekki, just turn. Oniru, Oniru Highway. No, okay. So, yeah, that's a good question. A driver for imposter syndrome. You definitely will feel it more the higher you go. If it's there, you definitely will feel it more. And what I've learned is that the more successful someone is, the more likely they are to have imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
The more likely they are to have imposter syndrome. The stakes are higher. You know that if you mess up, more people are affected. So I think it's just like now I have a way of looking at it where it's normal. It's a way of letting you know that you're in the right place. Because now you're starting to get scared. You get scared when you're afraid for something to fall.
Go wrong. Yeah.
So when you start, Fadi, you're looking at me, right? You're going through it. You get scared. You get panicked. And most people turn back and go the other way. But yeah, it just lets me know that if I'm like, I just met Bill Gates like a week ago, and it gives me joy to know that he probably has imposter syndrome. Because he's successful. Like that's what the stats say.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it, actually. That's a very good way to look at it. Because
he maybe he's walking into the room being like maybe his imposter syndrome is not like, do I have more money? But his imposter syndrome is like is anybody gonna maybe like
something with his walk
sorry
even.
Bill, I don't know him. I'm name dropping and cloud chasing with his name now, so be kind to me. But I'm just trying to create an experience because he's someone I've always wanted to meet.
Right.
And maybe his imposter syndrome is like, man, I'm getting old. All these guys are young and energetic. It comes from a place where you can't defeat it.
Yeah. I see
Do you know what I mean? It's it's a shadow for a reason. It's there with you. You can't out success imposter syndrome. You can't. But that's not the point. There's a anecdote from a guy called Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, and probably he's depicted sort of in the gladiator story that time. But Marcus Aurelius is this great emperor, and he had the servant that would go with him everywhere and just whisper to him in his ear, "You're only human. You're only human. You're only human."
Right.
And I feel that imposter syndrome, a good way to look at it is like that. It's that servant that reminds you wherever you are, you're still a human being. Still a human being.
With what you just said, I feel like that's something very hard for African artists or African celebrities to really like
grasp.
Because when you're a celebrity in Africa or Nigeria, I feel like it's heightened more than America. And the reason I say that is like you could be a celebrity in America, but like the average person still has the basic necessities that is just like, oh, okay, yeah, they grew up in my neighborhood or something. But in Africa now, like when you are big, the way like you now, you are MI. So to people on the streets, it's like, it's MI. So like when you were coming up now, how did you keep a level head, or did you keep a level head coming up, even up to now? How did you keep the right circle around you? How did you maintain relationships with your boys? Like, tell us that process really of just navigating
question,
things.
Basically, humanizing the parts of success. Producer. Yeah. So basically, humanizing the process of
becoming
being a celebrity.
This is a very good question, man. When people ask me questions, sometimes I see it's like a universe in my head. I'm like, man, I need to take you on but I would say coming with my people, because that was a strong part of my success. Like most of the people that are foundational to our Chocolate City story came from Jos, a very strong percentage, and they came with me, intentionally so as well. I think maybe if I'm to speak, okay, if you don't mind, let me interpret this. Let me answer the question as if
Go ahead.
there's a young person listening to me
Yeah, exactly.
that listens to your question and I can talk to and
There
tell
you
them this
go.
is what to do.
Good
No
right?
problem.
So, number one was that human beings are more successful when they are in a group. So I was lucky that I had a group. My brother is a producer. Ice Prince lived down the road. We had different people around us. I was lucky in that way. But I feel a lot of people, when they're starting off, they have a best friend, they have someone around, someone that believes in them, and committing to them as they commit to you, I would say, was step one. It's like, okay, Jesse's my brother as a producer. I need to get him on as he helps me get on. That's the first step. The second step is, for me, was also, I say this even for the young guys that are out there, like, I outwork everyone. So at a certain point, it became clear to me that I was going to dominate in rap because I just work harder than everybody else. Like, when I hear a rap song, I know that you did this 2 takes. I'm on my 40th take for African rapper number 1. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm relentless. I write the song over and over again. I'll use a song like Beef. Like, I don't think anybody here thinks they know Beef, my song. Have you heard the song Beef? Have you heard the song? But if I start rapping it, like, see them, they wanna beef me. Now that I see BET, most people can start, like, people that heard the song, they can recall, because I wrote that song over and over and over again with the intention to make it call and response as rap. So that's the second part. It's like, I tell young artists, like, Wizkid, every time I see Wizkid, he has like 3,000 songs on his phone.
This is funny that
Can
I'm
imagine.
You understand? Like, Burna recorded, I'm just talking about stuff people know. Burna recorded Last after the club. If you heard the story, he left the club and they were like, oh, there's a studio. Mr. Pella was like, Shina Pella was like, let's go to my studio. They went up to the studio. That's when was it Last or no? It might not have been Last. But one of those songs, recorded it that early
I know
in the
what you're
morning.
talking. I know that's what you're talking about.
And so if I'm a young artist trying to come in, and you're working against people that are recording at 5 a.m., do you know what I mean?
Like, literally, grind doesn't stop type people.
You know what I mean? It's like what you were saying. Like, since we saw, I've seen you. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Fucking grinding, bro.
Thank you, man.
This nigga's been in America. I'm doing this comeback. And when you're in this place, you know what it means. I'm doing it last year. The Sundays are last year. I gotta worry about boats. I gotta worry about food. I gotta worry about timing.
Thank God somebody else.
I gotta worry about
Because if I
safety.
say it now,
I gotta worry about, like, are people having fun? I get back home, I'm tired. On Monday, I gotta wake up and it's like, oh, there's some bills left to pay. The sponsor wasn't happy, and I gotta go sit down with the guy and start talking
Sorry,
about.
How do you know this? Because
I've been in the field. I've been in the field.
Side quests.
I've been in the field. But here's the thing: who's gonna beat you?
fair. Nobody.
Eventually, nobody's gonna beat you because you're doing it, and that's the lesson for young people out there. It's like, this is not something that falls out of the skies. It does fall out of the skies, but it falls into the person who's been weightlifting, because they're the only one that can carry it, And that's what we have to do with our life. We have to keep weightlifting every day in the gym, grinding, going. I'm not yet paid, but I'm getting better at this. I'm not yet getting paid, I'm getting better at this. I'm not yet this, I'm getting better. Me and my guys, we're working, we're believing in each other. To me, those two things, like, are the magic pill that thrusts someone to a success. Like, the team of you guys building this podcast, if you guys are locked in, and then you guys are locked in on them, and they're locked in on y'all, like, and then everybody here grinds, it's just a fact that you'll be successful, So,
But let me ask a follow-up question now: is with that success though, how do you manage egos, especially coming from an Well, you don't even say African background. Any country you go to can happen. When you have that success, what's that?
the wolf. I'll answer your question with the wolf. Yeah.
Like, how do you manage the egos? Because I feel like that happens with sometimes a lot of good teams, a lot of good setups, that when the success and the money especially starts coming in, everybody's ego starts coming about. So how do you manage that, especially if you're the face or the head of the group?
You've asked a big question.
Ah.
Big question. This question he's asked is a big question.
Yep.
We need the honest answer.
This question can change Nigeria. It can change Nigeria, real. Because you're asking the right question. How is it that when success comes in the door and everybody in the room has an ego? Let's look at our Senate. We are APC. We get into a power. Now everybody in the room has an ego. How do you manage it? You're a record label boss. You are doing well. Now the first $1 million has arrived. All the producers, everybody there has a babe that the babe is looking at them like, nigga, why can't you be number one? Everybody has a family member. Everybody everybody is looking at land.
Yeah.
You're the star. You bought your range. Everybody's been dreaming about that same car. You know what I mean? How do you manage it? So I pointed to the wolf. Okay. In Africa, most of our leaders are lions. So a lion has lots of women. He rests most of the day. He protects his clan fiercely. He lays down law and order. He's feared by all and respected by all. And when it comes time to eat, he eats first. And the only thing is that if you're a lion's boy, you're not going to be the head of the pride. For you to take over, you must fight me and kill me. And I feel that that's what we have in Nigeria today. And this creates an ego problem. Why? Because that young lion is looking at you every day lying in the shade and is like, my nigga. So be a wolf. This to me is the answer to the question. Wolves are completely different. The leader stays at the back. And he protects everybody. He doesn't eat till everybody is eating. So if you're the leader of the podcast here, be a servant to everybody here. Really. If you want to get to the top, find out what's his dream. What's his dream? Where is he going? And work towards it. Help him get there. You know, like a wolf. Because when he gets there, if everybody on your crew gets there together, what you want has been accomplished, even if you didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Just imagine all your men. He becomes the top producer in the world. He becomes the top director. He becomes top so and so. He becomes. I'm using you. I know you most, but just using you as example, right? So to me, it's that switch. But for a lion to become a wolf, he must see himself as smaller than he is. He must let go of so much. He must only have one woman. He must only have, it's a big change. So to me, that's the fundamental change that we're striving for. It's like, are we going to create an ecosystem where everybody knows they have a chance, and as they strive for that chance, other people will support them? Or are we creating a situation where really this chance is about making me the king, and then I will be the king and I will feed all of you, I'll protect all of you? And I find that even though we are born into a context that tells us be a lion, I feel most African men, they see themselves as lions. In fact, 2 albums ago, I was calling myself the lion. But now life has taken me. I'm like, no, I actually want to be the wolf. I want to be in a pack. I want us to be many. I want the people in the front to be young bulls, killers. And they're not even worried. They're going forward, fighting, because they know that if anything happen for back, them OGs, they're there. They're just there watching and supporting. And the leader stays behind the sick and the old. He stays behind everybody. He stays at the back and he just watches, and follows them. My job is to look after the pack. So I think that that's the real answer to the question. Like, it's what I'm trying to do in my new company now, like my new work. It's like, I was joking with Fanny. Why was I joking with Fanny? Because right when we came in here, she was just talking to me about her own leadership journey. She's so young. She's a brilliant leader. My job is to make her 10 times the leader I am. 10 times. You know what I mean? Because if I continue to work and serve her, then her ego can thrive without being in conflict with mine. You know what I mean? I support her ego. I want her to be more successful than everything. So to me, sorry, I sort of went, I told you it was a deep question, but
This is solid.
yeah.
Right on track.
We're getting it.
Yeah. So to me, that's the thing. Be a wolf. Be a wolf. If you want to live in the wilderness of the world in peace and harmony, be a wolf. Lions have it somewhere, but all your sons are looking at you like, when will it be my turn?
Yeah. You know the thing is, this is so many profound conversations we can have right now. In this discussion you've had now, my own question now, the next question I have following this is, when you've gotten to this point where you've achieved not just the success now, but even clarity on how to navigate the field, right? How does it work when you see that all of this clarity has to change because now innovations are coming in? Now you have social media, which is not something you had to worry about or factor in before. Now you have things about streams. There was no more buying physical CDs. Now you have things like TikToks. Your songs have to kind of trend now before they even catch a bit of wave. How do you handle re-strategizing? Not how do you re-strategize now, but how do you handle that? Because there's obviously, I imagine, a mind frame you need to be in where you, like you said, now you've now discovered, okay, you know what, lion is not the way, now it's wolf. And then now you're grinding on a wolf pee, and then you now realize that, hey, they're telling you it's turtle now. How do you handle the mental shift? Because I feel like this is where people fall off.
Yeah, so you are preaching. This man is preaching.
So yeah, how do you handle that? I think young people need to know how you can handle that.
It's not just young people, bro. The young people, like when you're a young man, your arrogance, your testosterone will carry you to your first win. You know, it's not the first win. You know, the real danger for men is like, I'm 40, I was very successful, I was a lion, and now the world has changed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So most of us grew around fathers that went through this, where the rest of the life was a story. Everything was working for me, and then this thing happened, and that's it. I mean, in different ways, you know. There were so many men that I saw growing up that was their story, you know. I'm still young, so the question you asked me is older than me, you know. It's older than me, but I can just tell you at least at mile 43 what I can see, right? And what I can see is that, are you guys spiritual believers of any time? Okay.
Of course.
Permit me to use scriptural references.
Of course,
and
of
crowd too. I'm not trying to be over religious, but I want to use scriptural.
Of course, by all means.
That's why if you're lucky, you will face insane hardship when you're a young man.
And this is true. I like how this sounds, and I'm going to ask something after this.
Yeah.
Yes.
The reason why is that the world has no respect for your comfort level. The world is not going to stop changing because you, in your own life, you want to be. It's going to change. It's going to move past you again and again and again. Your job is to catch up. So if you're in your youth, the Bible says, find me a man diligent in all his ways. Okay, what does that mean? You guys are like, we're going to be a media company. There are two ways to do it. Can we do it by having like a toxic work environment, being terrible guys, you know what I mean, or can we really work hard on it, you know? And what the scripture says is that, find me the guy that worked hard on it. Now, why am I pointing to that guy? Not because that guy will be successful more than everybody else in the first iteration. It's because the second iteration is going to come. And the second guy will not be prepared. He doesn't know what it means to work and wake up in the morning, which is what it's going to take for you to go from one generation to the next. You must be a man. I'm a man, so I'm speaking not to exclude any gender. But for me in my career, like, I had to drop my weight. I didn't like the weight I was at. That was one of the most difficult things I did. It took me like 18 months, hard work.
Interesting.
It's just that I was washing toilets when I was in college.
Right.
You know, so I've been through that. I left leading Chocolate City, and it had a emotional. I left the leadership of Chocolate City, and it had an emotional effect on me. It's coming out of that ecosystem and handing it over to the team to continue, which was the best thing that happened. Chocolate City has, like, our CEO today is he's God-given, Abuchi. But for me, the person that was going through this transition, and then I had to start something, and then I had to start from this bottom again, you know? And now I look back and I realize that when I was 18, I went to college by myself. I had it very difficult. I was like a poor kid in, like, you know, in America, you know, I went through all this. I had to work in McDonald's. And now I'm like, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Father. Because who knew that internet was going to come and things were going to come and the world was going to change, and that when I'm in my 40s, I need to be able to go back in, lock in. And you trained me when I was 18, you know? So a lot of times for young people, they're getting the training, but they resent life for the training. It's like, you're like, why is this happening to me? It's happening to you because you're going to be 50 one day.
Right.
You're going to be 40 one day, and you need to be able to stand on your feet and film from morning to night and serve for other people for hours, because when you're 40, you're going to need to do it again. And now you have a family. And now you have young kids that are watching you, just looking at you like this. What does my dad do? And most men at that time, they're going to be like, nobody's there for me. They'll just sit down and drink. And that's what the child will learn. But you, at 40, you'll be like, oh, I know this before. Let's get to work. And your son or daughter will watch you. Wow. He just gets up and keeps going. How does he do it? Wow, wow, wow. You know? So that's my answer. Again, I told you I'm young for this answer, for this question.
Yeah.
But from where I am, as somebody that, I have a lyric in my new album, I say, the highs and the lows I've been in both places. The top of the charts, the screams, the ovations, the trenches, the bins, the meanest locations. I'm saying I've seen both sides, you know? And the thing I'll say is that the one enduring thing was that I take my work serious. You know?
Whether on the lowest or on the highest. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, you said something, and sorry, I just have so many questions.
No, I love it. I love questions.
So you said something, and it made perfect sense. But my worry is that, like we've just discussed in all grounds, life comes at you differently, right? Now, we've talked about the way life can come at you from the high to the low. Let's talk about the people who, and you mentioned that, it's nice to go through that trench period in your earlier days. Now, what about the people who don't get I'll call it a luxury, the luxury of not experiencing the hardship in their early 20s, even up to their 30s? And I say this from the angle of, how there's this saying that the tough man gives birth to the soft children, and that, someone you see a lot of that in Nigeria or in Africa generally, the parents who have suffered and gone through it, they want to make sure their child doesn't even smell the experience even a little bit. But what that grooms is someone who doesn't have those tough times up until they are 30, 40. Now you leave me off my training wheels, take them off, and then now you tell me, okay, ride on this 2-wheel bicycle. I didn't have to teach you, but in my time, you kind of figured it out. But you didn't tell me that I need to figure anything out at any point.
Yeah.
So how do you explain to the people who, whether music industry or whatever the case, need to suddenly learn this grind culture that they didn't have the opportunity to learn because hard life didn't quite imbibe that in them? How do they end up doing that?
That's a great question, man. It's a great question. Oh, my father-in-law told me, when people ask me questions, I go, that's a great question. But I'm sorry. When it's a great question, I'm like, oh, wow, that was a great question. Because a great question makes you, like, I feel sometimes the question is the answer, Like sometimes when you hear the question, even though everybody answers, you will not be satisfied because it's a question. And the world is full of questions, Okay, if I'm a young person and I'm denied. Okay, let's start from where you said something so profound, which is the circle of life. Hard times make strong people. Strong people make good times. Good times make weak people.
There you go.
Weak people make bad times.
Yeah.
Bad times make strong people.
Yeah.
Strong people make good times.
And then
good times make bad people. Weak people. Weak people make bad times. Okay. What times are we in now?
Now it depends.
In Nigeria.
Personal time? Okay, Nigeria, we're definitely in the bad times. I would say we're in the bad times.
So when I first read this thing, because when I was growing up as a man, I always thought that the men that were raising me were strong men. But then I looked at the equation and I was like, oh, if the equation is right, it's my perspective that's wrong. These are weak men.
Right.
They can't be disciplined. They can't put the country ahead of themselves. There's no self-discipline. There's no accountability.
Yeah.
That's a weak man.
Yeah.
That's not a strong man. So it was very clear to me, we are growing in the times of weak men. Okay. But what happens? Weak men make bad times. Then bad times make strong men. Okay. So that's why I was saying that life doesn't care. Like when war happens, millions of people die. Life doesn't care. Accepting that, it broke my heart as I was coming into my 40s. It broke my heart. So you mean this life doesn't care about?
Actually.
But it doesn't care. In fact, we are even the ones that were raised by, we're even the weak ones. The strong ones are the boys that are sleeping on the street right now.
Yes.
They have a different life perspective from us.
Yep.
You and I, we can't compete in business against somebody that lived in the streets. You know what I mean? We can't.
And that's where I'm getting at. Yeah.
So, to me, the thing about it is that it's not about, you can't look from externally and you can't say this person's facing more pressure because they were on the streets. Because maybe when they're on the streets, they had 5 friends, and every day they will go to one restaurant and chop, and then they'll play all day. So you are looking at them like these are street boys, but they're having the time of their lives. Meanwhile, your own son that's driving a Range Rover is going to a class and his teacher is not paying attention, and he has a learning problem. So he's having a tough time. So you can't tell from looking, right? What I would just say is that I feel everybody has their cross. The question is, are you going to carry your cross? That's the real thing. Even if you have rich parents, there's a cross you have. But are you going to be like, this is so stupid, my life is blah, 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 and you're not? Or are you going to say, this is here to make me stronger? And I think that that's the thing. Your cross will come, whether you are in rich, but it will come. To me, the weakness or the strength is about the responsibility. So clearly, we are in a time of weak men. Why? Because the country is left without protection. This is like a house that there's no father. Nigeria is like, where you know what I mean? There are no parents. Sorry, I keep using male. I don't mean to offend anybody else. I keep using that because I'm a man. You know what I mean? But it's like, there's no parent here, right? Clearly, this parent is drunk on the sofa.
Left his gates wide open.
Now, here's the thing, my brothers. What is our own role? Weak men complain. They're like, this country, I can never get a chance. Do I need that? Blah, 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 blah. That's all we saw our parents do. Can you imagine this? Oh, the country, let's... Strong men. So that's the real question for us. What should we be doing now? And I think we should be taking responsibility. Like, I don't complain on Twitter and Instagram anymore. Not because I don't get the pain. I get it. In fact, you were just scolding me yesterday on Twitter about, I tweeted about the thing that happened in Benue. And a lot of people came out and they were saying, but Emma, you supported the APC government. And I mean, without going into the details, let's say, sure, as of the time when there was a PDP government that I felt was very corrupt, I was part of the people that lifted my voice to say, let us stand and bring in democracy. And I told you, as a human being, no matter whether you try to be right, you'll be wrong eventually. APC, unfortunately, isn't the APC of my dreams. Unfortunately, it's not. I can try to, it's not. But now I realize that there are some things I can do as a man that face the problem. For instance, I work in the creative sector, and the creative sector can empower millions of young people. If the government is not set up and doesn't have the leaders that can provide jobs, it doesn't mean that I, Jude, that God has given such a great opportunity, am I going to be a lion? Am I going to be a wolf? Am I going to work and leave my remaining work for the generation coming after me? And even if I'm wrong, that's what I'm focused on. Or am I going to be like, I need to have my own Range Rover, my own private jet, and I need to go and make sure I can extract and be a weak man too? Am I going to care about, So again, this is my perspective. People may disagree with me. They may, but I want to be able to clearly share with people that, look, my own perspective is that we are actually the generation. Embedded in us are the solutions for the country already. Their generation, they've lived it and they are who they are. Sorry, you guys had your time. But we need to be understanding that we need to really be strong so that we don't repeat the patterns, and so that we can do the right thing. So that when history is done and our sons are sitting having a podcast, they will be able to look back and be like, who were those guys?
Let me ask you a follow-up question with that now. So what would you advise? There's so many things we can be doing, but for somebody that has been in the creative sector, both as an artist and also as somebody behind the scenes and also on a business level, what are some of the things you feel like young people can be doing now, especially with the advantages we have with social media, with so many other things? What are some of the things you feel like we can start doing to make those impacts in the country now, since, we can't rely on the government?
You guys are doing it right here. I mean, how large is this team? The podcast team?
Large enough to make a podcast. Nothing too
4 people.
crazy.
4 or 5
5 people. 4 or 5 people are earning money off of your idea. And may God take it till you guys are hundreds.
Amen.
You understand? And what your job is to do is to be diligent. Be diligent. Already what you are designed to do is written on your heart. You know it. Like, even as a child, you knew, while I'm here, and the whole world is trying to convince you that can't work, the country is not, the things, the situations, that's okay, fine. I'm going to be diligent, and I'm going to work on what I know I should be working on. And that produces excellence. And what I want you to know is that right now, the people that are podcasting globally are not better than you guys. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not. The opportunity for us globally as Africans is the creative industry. But we can approach it as weak people. Soft life loving, relaxing, hanging out. We're not taking the work serious. And if you've been to Yankee, you know how it is in Yankee. You know how it is, the work.
Work.
How can you compete? If God comes and gives us an opportunity as a nation, okay, the government has failed you guys, but I'm going to create it so that talent and creativity become the oil of the future. That creates an opportunity that no government can create. No president in Nigeria can ever say, I'm going to go out into the world and create a global opportunity for you. The Most High has done it. But are we going to feed our desires and our flesh, or are we going to pour into the spirit of what you're trying to do? You know, again, I'm using scriptures as the analogy of, as I share, but are you going to do this podcast like the world is ending tomorrow and this is the last podcast the world is going to hear, you know? And what I say to all Nigerian people is that we have been so blessed, you know, to be selected out of every nation to be the nation that can lead globally in creativity. But we need to take the opportunity serious. You know, so many people get the money for the movie and they go and buy houses, and then the movie comes out and it's subpar, and the nation loses an opportunity. Yep. So many people see an opportunity to onboard artists, but they use that opportunity to make money for themselves. And then the nation suffers. Our streaming doesn't do as well. Labels are refusing to put into the money in the scene. But those people could be diligent. They could be like, this opportunity, we are going to show you how hard we can work and how poor we can, and that's going to create millions of jobs and millions of opportunities, you know. And to me, that's the mistake that our parents made, you know. Again, I beg my parents, don't vex for me. I'm saying as a generation, you know, I feel they tell you that they came into Nigeria that was so soft in the 80s. It was soft. Good times. Make weak people that as things are getting bad, you just sit and complain and you don't even vote.
And then they pass that torch on.
The barest minimum you can do is vote. You don't even vote.
Yeah.
You know? So
okay. So
I get deep. I know.
No. That's why we're like, your truth. Like, you know what?
So I have a question that would normally be typically asked in a typical way, but I'll add my own little twist. So naturally, everyone will ask you, what's your peak moment, or what's your most successful moments in your career? But that's not my question. My question is, what's your most successful moments in the current life you've lived, from the music career to other stuff outside the music career up until right now?
Yeah, my highest moment, I can't answer that question. This morning I had a run. I was running this morning and I was excited about the future.
Fair enough.
You know, I don't mean to sound like I'm one of those like airy people, or you know what I mean. It's not that at all. I'm just trying to be honest with you. Like, now I know that I'm working on something that, if I'm successful, the future is more glorious than anything I've ever done. So every day is like another step. It's like, just imagine if you knew for sure that where Jay Shetty is today, you're going to be there. You know, tomorrow you'll be so excited to wake up. Oh shit, one more day. Yeah. It's like when you're a kid and they tell you vacation is, you just look at the calendar every day. So that's sort of how I see the world. You know, I truly believe that Nigeria is going to be a haven in my lifetime. In my life, I will see it. The same way my dad saw a different Nigeria in his own lifetime, I will see it in my own lifetime. And how it will happen is us. It's the success of this vehicle here, the success of the building we're in, the success of the real estate agent that built his house, the success of the company that's distributing your podcast. All those, we're going to take over everything, and everybody will be successful and well, and there'll be wealth, and there'll be happiness, there'll be jobs. So that excites me, and it gives me you know, and I'm still in the like, I have such a long way to go when I'm building. Like the vision for task is colossal. So I have like maybe 10 years of building still, you know, but it gives me so much joy. But let me not, without being so airy, let me try and think of something else that was a big moment for me. I don't know, maybe getting married. Getting married,
Interesting.
yeah.
That's
So
very
why
interesting.
would you say? Because I guess you got married not late, but
Yeah.
like you know how they always
At
say
the right time.
stereotypical,
Yeah.
like before early
Yeah.
20s
Yeah.
you should be, but you got married later after you've had your success, after you know you've done. I always say like as a man, sometimes you have to be selfish before you let a woman in, because you need to accomplish your goals, and then you'll have new goals you create with her. So I mean, first off, what made you get married at the time you got married, and also why didn't you get married earlier?
You know, I even want to go back to the same thing you said. As a man, you know, when you add ish to something, you're watering it down.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So let's remove the ish.
Okay.
As a man, you need to be self first. You need to be yourself. You know what I mean? What is yourself? Maybe the picture of yourself you see, I have a car, I have a house. Now, maybe that. You know, you need to be yourself. There's some truth in that. But the truth about it is that if you're lucky to find your partner before then, you know, start anyway. Like, start. There's no perfect time. I also think that a lot of things, like everything you've heard about life, like, oh, marrying your 20s, right? It's somebody's experience that became very popular.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? But if that person was like marrying your 40s, that would now be the popular thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So your own life is the point. And if you got married at 35, that's the point. That's when you got married. You know what I mean? Other people are going to have the answer. Oh, you got married at 17. Oh, wow. Tell me about it. What was that like? My life was 100% different from yours, as it should be. And I got married at my own time when I met the right person, you know? So I don't think there's a clock on it. And the other thing I'll say is that you're right. You need to be self. The reason why is that what I've discovered in marriage is that it will help you understand what they mean when they say be a man. Are you married?
Nope.
No, not yet.
La botari. It will help you understand, because now, once you get married, right? Before you're married, anything that happens to you today, now you're only responsible for yourself. You're only responsible for yourself. But now, if anything happens to my wife, it's on me. I'm sure she'll have her own way of saying it, but I live with that knowledge every day. Like, oh shit. Even if we break up, I'm always going to be the man that, you know what I'm saying? So you need to be prepared for that, because it's a huge responsibility, but it's also a huge gift. Like, women are magical beings. And when one is like, okay, for the rest of my own life, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to be with you. You know? Wow. It's a tremendous responsibility, you know? So do it when you're ready, as you said. Be self, whatever that is. You know the answer, you know what I mean? You know it's written on your heart. You know what the answer is. Like, when I was ready to marry, I just looked up. Okay, I'm ready. I spoke to one person, introduced me. I saw her. I said, hey, mess up. I hit her up immediately. We started talking. 8 months later, engaged.
Oh wow.
6 months later, married. Yeah.
So you didn't really waste time. You
The
know already
right
what.
time is the right time.
The right time is the right time.
So can I just pivot back into something now? Because we talk about your music. Like, so before getting married, what was dating like for you?
Yeah.
As somebody like,
I was a mess, bro. I was out here. I was out here. I'm just one of the, you know, a lot of times I meet a fan and the fan will be like, "Emma, you have such a decent record." I'm like,
Oh my god.
that's why we don't put that thing on camera. That's right.
I'm like, don't fingers crossed, knock on wood, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh man. But I was just a guy, you know. I was just a guy, and I didn't really understand. Like, let me say, I didn't really understand that when you enter into someone's life, your role in their life is permanent. You know, so it was very easy for me to meet a young woman and want to enter into her life back then, because I didn't understand that
How permanent that is going to be.
for the rest of her life, that time she gave you is going to be what that she used
I
that
never
time
thought about
for.
you know, you don't think of it that way until
don't.
You know what I mean?
like till later. Like,
So everything you're saying to her, everything you're doing, that's gonna be like, she came to the world. She doesn't know men. Do you know what I mean? So she left her father's house and she's like, okay, shit, there are all these men. I just gotta pick one and then see. You know what I mean? So I was the guy that would be like, pick me. Then I'll just lie for like 1 year.
Fair enough. I like the honesty.
I would just be on, you know what I mean? So I had that. I mean, look, I had great partners as well, people that poured love into me and I poured love into them as well. But to be honest, I wasn't where I was when I was ready to be like, okay, now I need to complete myself. I now need to finish out the squad so that now I can now get to building the permanent things. And so I have grace for myself, you know, I forgive myself for a lot of those things. Because again, as I was saying, like, look, at the time when I was doing this, I was doing the right thing from my perspective. And that's just part of being a human being. You only discover your mistakes in hindsight. You know, you can't see them on your you can't see them on your windshield.
Yeah.
You can on your is that windshield, I mean?
Yeah, it has to be.
You can only see them in your rear view, you know.
Was there a switch or a moment during your day in life that made you say, like, because you're talking about it from a reflective standpoint, but was there a moment or something, did something happen that make you say, like, okay, I want to swich the way I'm living now? Like,
for sure.
Okay, well, if you don't mind
There's
talking
no
about
no. I lost 2 relationships. So the first time it happened, I was like, ain't this on some BS, like this chick, blah, 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 blah. But the second time, nobody defended me in my squad. I was so upset. Nobody defended me, and then, now, before I say this thing, I want to say that the love I have for my wife now is like overflowing. It's more than 100%. You know, it's meaning that even if something happens that takes us to 93, tomorrow it'll be 101. You know, it just flows every day. But at the time in that relationship, I also was really like connected with that person. And I never thought that the person was going to walk away. So when they walked away, I went through all of this thing, but then it helped me look like, why? How come nobody said anything? And then I could see that everybody actually had a lot of love for her. And they were looking at me and they were like, damn. So I just reached the day where I just needed to see the truth through the community's eyes, you know, and it was very painful. I went to therapy. I went and was like, what's going on? I remember one day I was just like, what's wrong with me? This thing keeps happening. I keep being in this same place over and over and over again. And then I went in and I did this exercise. And basically, so I hope I'm not going too long on the answer.
No,
Okay.
you're good.
Too long?
Okay. Okay, so I did this exercise where the person that was taking me through therapy, he said, okay, first of all, let me just say about therapy. There's nothing in therapy. Therapy is like yanning with your guy and he doesn't interrupt you. Do you understand? So a lot of times when you're telling your story, the person will be like, but, you know, a therapist just listens to you till you get it out. And then if there's something you said that's important, they can be like, hey, you said this thing and this thing was important. Why do you think it's important? So it's all you. The only reason why they call it therapy is because you don't actually have the time to do this any other time. So you need to schedule a time, you know. And for most people, what I say to them is that most of us go around living life and nobody has ever heard our own side of the story. Do you understand? Things happen to you and then people move on. Don't talk about it. Blah, blah, blah. So you deserve to hear your own side of the story from your own words. And that's what therapy does. It allows you to say, well, then this happened and I didn't like it because of that. And you can talk about it where most times you don't get the opportunity to talk about it. You know, so here I am, I'm talking about it. And the guy said, okay, he listened to me. Then he said, I want you to close your eyes and imagine the happiest time you were when you were young. So I thought about myself as a 5-year-old boy. And he said, hold the memory. So maybe you guys can do this too as well. Let's do it. Let's try it. So
all right, let's go.
Think about yourself. What's your first memory, your happiest memory? Don't say it out loud. Just hold it in your head. If you can find a memory of you as a child where you were happy, you know. If you have it, just say I have it, you know.
I have it.
Okay.
I have it.
Okay. If you have it, I want you, if you can try and like feel like that memory, like it might be a picture, but like, can you remember how you felt in that moment? And then when you get there, imagine yourself now walking up to that young man, what would you tell him about his life?
It's interesting.
What would he tell you? What would he think if he saw you now? What would his impression be? Would he be impressed? Would he be disappointed? Would he be sad? Would he start crying because he's like, you're going through so much pain? You know? Okay. I'm rushing a little bit because we deserve time to be here, right? But let's go to the other side now. So, what about... Okay, come back. Eyes open, eyes open.
Right here.
Any connection? Did you see anything?
Oh
You
yeah,
felt
of
something?
course. I definitely felt a lot.
Okay,
Of something.
perfect. Let's do it again now. We're going to do the 65-year-old version of you. But now what I want you to do is to write the best version of yourself.
Okay.
Who do you want to be at 65?
Okay.
So let's do it again.
Okay.
So this one took me a longer time to really see myself at 65 and who I want to be. What do I have? Am I married? Do I have kids? Am I very rich and wealthy? Am I just comfortable? You know, and it's your life. You can make up whatever story you want. But if you saw the 65-year version of yourself, what would he say to you today that you need to start doing? So, okay, when you're done, you can come back. Okay. So,
Okay.
those two things, as soon as I saw that, I was like, shit, I did fuck up now. I'm not living in a way that's going to bring the wife I see when I'm 65. It was so clear. Change immediately. Boom. So the next day I got up, I was like, this got to change, this got to change. The woman I just saw at 65, she not dating this nigga.
Right.
There's no way. She's not walking through this. She will come and look and be like, so immediately I started making adjustments. So if that's useful, I return to this a lot of times. Like when I feel lost, I go back to my younger version. I feel that that's where your direction is. And then when I feel sad, I go back to my 65-year version of myself. That's where my encouragement is. That's the guy that's like, hey, you're right, you're not doing this, but if you keep doing this, you're going to get to me, you know? And well, so.
So last, I think, see, there are too many questions. I think,
This is my problem.
I'll say
I
when
gist a lot.
So
Leave us
let's say
Yeah,
two more
yeah.
questions. I'll go
Okay,
to you.
okay.
So would you recommend? You were saying now like, oh, therapy is just, but it's obviously something that's also like a stigma amongst a lot of African and Nigerian men saying don't go to therapy or it means you have a mental case. You understand, but it seemed like as much as you said it was just talking, it did help you because you took those two things now from it that helped you have a clearer mind. So would you recommend therapy to a lot of men? Because even us talking to each other now, or even just talking in general, is not something we do. I mean, even this podcast is, I'll say, one of one because you don't have a lot of Nigerian men actually talking about certain subjects. So would you recommend therapy? And even if you don't recommend therapy, what would you recommend, even if it's what you just said?
Yeah. Look, I actually even think like that's one of the things I see about you. Now, not to say, you know, I met him, we've had lunch, we've hung out together in a different context. So, but I see about you that you're actually giving men permission, you know, because how you look and how you are in terms of the way you're having conversations, in the way you allow yourself to be soft, the way you allow yourself to like think about a thing from a different perspective, you know, like I really feel like therapy is like gym for the mind. Why? Because the thing happened to you. Like it happened to you and then nobody heard your side. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, let me use this example now of me leaving Chocolate City. Right. So this thing happened and I had a feeling. But do you think the people at Chocolate City want to sit down and listen to me talk about?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine how incredibly uncomfortable that may be? Be like, guys, I feel like everybody, like, or you and your wife have an argument and you want to be like, I really felt really small. I really felt, honey, we got to. So depression comes because you are carrying 4 skyscrapers. When you were 4 years old, your parents left you at the school. It hurt you so much. You came back. Your dad was like, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then you were just like, okay, I guess this is the way life is. And then you were 6 years old. Something else happened to you. and you've just been carrying your life, just been adjusting for years, for decades, just been like, you now got your first job, your boss was like, blah, 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 blah. He made you feel small all the time because he was an insecure prick. Do you know what I mean? You dated one girl, things were going really well, but then she now broke your heart. She slept with one of your friends. You know, you were trying to be a G and trying to be like, it's just so much. And even yourself, you've not heard your side. Even you yourself, you've never said, this is how I felt that day. And then you've not even gone back to the scene of the crime to know what happened. You know what I mean? So therapy is like a must so that you don't one day, it doesn't just become too much. That's how we get into depression. That's how we commit suicide more than everybody else. Because I saw something yesterday, they were like, men say that the feeling that the pressure on them is a lot. The person was like, no, it's not that they feel the pressure on them is a lot. The pressure on them is a lot.
It's not a feeling.
It's not a feeling, it's real. As a man, if you don't provide value to the world, you are discarded. You are left by the side of the road. You must be productive. You must have money. If not, you are a useless man. That's the term they give you.
Yep.
You are.
That was literally what we
you
just talked
have
about.
no use. You have no use. There's no purpose for you. That's why people kill themselves when they get to the point where they're like, oh, I have no use. For a man, that's a death sentence. Shit, I'm not useful to anyone.
Yep.
You know? So therapy is the way of explaining what happened when you're in that situation. Guys, I was trying to be useful. I didn't get here because I'm a fuck up. And a lot of times no one has listened to you.
Yeah.
You know. Now, let me say something. I feel women have a hack here because women tell each other everything.
Yep. Yep.
They tell each other everything. Hey, then I felt so hurt. Then he came. Then I was just feeling so bad. My chest was like, blah, blah, blah. Then I now called my this thing. And I said, you're very stupid. The friend will be his brother. He's so stupid. They help the other person feel. But we as men, we're like, man, yeah, bro, I feel you, man.
Yep.
My bad.
Yep.
Happy.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Come on, bro. Now, man, you be.
There you go. Just chest
Maybe
down.
they go cry with you. They go say, bro, chest
Just
down.
chest down.
You remember the 6-year-old or 3? How old was the version of you?
The version of me was 8.
8. How about you?
7.
You're still an 8-year-old boy. You know, just trying to figure it out. There's something you said earlier. You said, you were asking a question. You were like, if a man doesn't know how to, we are the generation of men that most men were not raised. We were born.
Yeah.
We were born, but we were not raised.
Yeah, that's facts, actually.
Do you understand? So now you're 30 and you're trying to get your finances together and you have to figure it out from scratch
Just
because you don't even have a template of somebody that was when you were young. This is why we have to be the strong men and we have to build families because the next generation is going to come from, it's going to come. But they can either have fathers that were like, listen, my boy, let me show you how to balance a spreadsheet.
actually sit you down.
Let me show you how to be this. Let me show you how to save. Let me show you how to not hurt women. Let me show you how to be a leader. Let me show you how to sacrifice for your team. Let me show you what hard work is, you know? It is a generation of young men that have that in them that can save Nigeria.
I agree with you.
Do you understand? That can work together, that can be disciplined, that can deny themselves because they will have, you know, us to raise them and be like, look, everything was bad in the country, but then we worked together. We came, we started a podcast, then we went and we sold it. Then one of us left, but we became brothers. It hurt us, but we spoke. We all went to therapy. We came back. We got stronger. We invested in his business. Then the thing grew. You know, those kind of stories of those like nation builders. That's our task, to be nation builders. You know what I mean? To be giants. People that they're like, how did you learn this thing? How did you figure it out? Your dad wasn't, how did you, there was no industry, how did you? Now we be that. Now we the wolves. By the way, I think we're okay. Your question. I will talk about my album before I go. Everybody play the best.
That's my question. That's my question. We've talked about everything.
Yeah.
We've talked about the past MI. We've talked about the MI today. We've talked about the MI earlier. Now let's talk about the MI from now moving forward. What is happening with you? Basically, this is you to now plug in everything. Let's know what you're doing right now. Be it music, be it new albums, be it side quests. Now is the time to plug it. Let's know what you're doing right now. Let's know. Give us a bit of detail.
Yeah.
What's happening at Emma right now?
I think this phase of my life is about just doing one thing. And I'll talk about my album, but my album is part of that one thing. So my one thing in life is a company I founded called Task. Task believes that Africa's creatives, you guys, are Africa's opportunity for freedom. You know. So, but for those creatives to truly be free, they need tools. They can't just do it from where they are. So we're trying to build one tool for them, which is a digital talent agent, a platform that will find you opportunities and will structure everything around those opportunities. So we are very close to releasing the tech MVP that everybody be able to use. We're already using it for a very small group of top creators to help them organize their business. So it's like the talent agent is like a business, a super max business agent delivered via platform. And for people like in this space, people that are doing it really big, we have an agency as well with actual humans to support that work. And for me, you know, I've seen it all. I actually built a record label with my hands.
Exactly.
I actually put my brother, my family on. You know, I am like somebody that I did it. The thing. I went to the top of my own genre, continentally, even globally, you know. So I didn't understand why I was given that opportunity until recently when it was like, well, you have given the opportunity so you can serve others. There are going to be many others that are going to have the talent you had. They're going to have the opportunities, but they're not going to have a good agent around them. And that is one of the weaknesses where they're going to be taken advantage of. By the time they sign the contract, they wouldn't know what's in it. They wouldn't know what the other person even really wants and how to leverage that. So that is that's my life's work now, working on building a digital talent agent for Africa's creatives. And even after we get there, what are tools they need? More and more and more. I think it should be an African company. It should be an African company with people that understand our industry, you know. Then my album is like the soundtrack of our mission as Task.
Right.
And it's called The Wolf. The Wolf is an acronym. To humans everywhere, whatever occurs, look forward.
To humans everywhere, whatever happens, look forward.
Whatever occurs, look forward.
Say that again.
Whatever occurs, move forward.
Whatever occurs,
Occurs.
look forward.
Oh.
You were right. It's just that
Not
there's
the
no
word.
there's no well. There's no well.
Yeah.
If they had named it the well. In fact, let's change it to the well. The official name now, bro. Thank you. No. But and The Wolf is the soundtrack to a story. The story is about the actual wolf that was born in Africa. When the father created all animals and all humans and put them in a garden, the wolf was there, and the wolf told he told the man, he said, the father said we should not eat this fruit. But what happened, and through the legislation of trying to figure out the politics and everything that was happening, the wolf, who everyone loved, ended up being set up, ended up going to prison, ended up being assassinated. That assassination he ended up being killed, not assassinated, executed. The execution something happened, and he escaped and fled from Africa. And now the wolf lives in America, you know, in the wilderness there. Also, many things happened. Cain killed Abel. You know, the animals divided, the lions became the kings. This story has been lost to antiquity. But I went to my village and the story fell into my laps. And when the story fell into my laps, I now created the soundtrack. I was basically seeing the scenes and I made an album. But the album is for you guys. It's for y'all. It's like, look, our conversation today ends with us walking out of this podcast. And when I leave, I'll be gone. I'll go on, continue living my life. And you guys will continue living your lives. And in your life, the future of your life has unexplicable joy and inexplicable joy and inexplicable pain. You know, we will bury our parents as a fact. We will lose friends. We will also, I prophesy, we will also be good giants.
Amen.
We will make money.
Amen.
We will establish things. And through it all, it will be difficult, it will be painful, it will be happy. Your job your mission is to keep looking forward. No matter what happens, whatever occurs, look forward, And so my album is the story of that, and I can't wait to share with the world. To me, this album is not even about like if it streams well and if it does well, which it will. Oh, I'm not. This is not a concession. This is not like, oh, I made an RC project. Una go see.
Damn.
But it's not for that purpose. It's not for that purpose. It's for the purpose of reminding the people tasked with the Remas, the Burners, the Whizzes, the Menisms, the Tiwas, Simis, Taumamas, all of us that are doing it for Africa. And we're going to face pain, loss, hardship, betrayal. It reminds us to keep going. It's an album for us, So, yeah, I can't wait to share with you guys. Check out The Wolf. We start very soon. We start rolling it out piece by piece. Yeah.
All right, guys, you've heard it here first. This is an episode you're probably not even going to. You need to just sit down. But the thing is, we're saying it's not at the end, Charles. So I'm sure if it's not to the end, you two, you've been sitting down the whole time. But
this is therapy. Like
this is our
you
own
have to
therapy.
make time out and sit and watch it.
No, but we appreciate you for coming on the pod. Thank you
guys.
very much. And again, everybody, look out for The Wolf. What date can we expect it?
It's coming out as a story, so there's no one date that the album will be out. It will be revealed. You don't catch me. We're trying to make it as soon as possible.
All right,
As soon as possible.
okay.
As
There'll
soon
be
as possible,
updates.
yeah.
Again, where can people follow you? Where can people see updates of your work, your projects?
M.I. Abaga. M.I. like T.I. Just M.I. Abaga. Wherever, you can find me. Gen Zs, I'm cool. Oh, check me out. You know what I mean? Now I go places and I'm like, I love it. I'm like the OG. People are like, oh, you don't know him? You don't know him? I'm like, man. It's like the evening time.
How do you feel about that,
I was
though,
going to
honestly?
say that.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel like sometimes you walk into a room and young people are seeing you like, hey, that's M.I.
Yeah. I was really afraid of it. But it's the best part of a career.
Right.
Because loss of anonymity is a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, everywhere you go now, some places I go, I'm incredibly popular and I'm prepared. The people are prepared. We're all waiting. That's the best feeling, to go into somewhere and everybody's like, because they're ready. But most places I go to, I'm just normal.
You have to be reminded.
I'm just normal. Like nobody would even know. And I feel that's the perfect balance.
Do you want to laugh?
You know what I mean?
Jesse Jags came to Sunday at Ilashe a few weeks ago in Abuja. So when he came, Modo and Fowles came. So everybody's like, So even when they saw Jesse Jags, like people that are OGs were like, But then me, when I saw him, I ran because I was working. So then I was like, it can't be him. They're like, it's Jesse. I ran to his table. I said, OG, see, I don't even do this for artists. Because I know a lot of artists now. But him, I said, OG, you don't understand. You see that your Pussycat song, you don't understand what that did to me in secondary school. That your album. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, like, and if you look at Jesse now, like, if you actually sit down with him and chat with him, I think he's at the happiest he's ever been.
Can we get him on the pod?
For sure.
We
Funny,
need to get him on the
funny. This is the.
We need
She'll make it work.
We need Jesse.
She'll make
we
it
need
work.
Ice Prince.
She'll
we
make
need
it
the
work.
OGs.
She'll make it work.
Yes.
She'll make
God
it
bless
work.
you. All right, so until next time, guys, we appreciate you again for coming on the
course,
pod.
of course.
Make sure you subscribe to all our audio channels at Michael Scenario.
And I'm more welcome.
And we will see you next time on Menisms.